Hi, I'm Tom Hendrickson from the Agile Online Summit, where we bring great Agilists to the world. And welcome to our Community Spotlight, where we like to shine the light on the Agile communities that help promote the Agile Online Summit. Today, we're joined by Z Chin from the Agile Malaysia. Z, introduce yourself to the people here at the Agile Online Summit.
Right. Hi, Tom. Thanks for inviting me, to be part of the spotlight. So I'm one of the organizers for Agile Malaysia. So that's about, I think we're going about 10 years plus strong now. So we're basically in the community to promote agility, to promote sharing of experience. And really what's important for us is actually to support each other on our journey. So community is especially important in Southeast Asia, given that we still don't have that many practitioners here. So it becomes even more important that we support each other.
Yeah. So Z, I think you said you have been involved in the community for 10 years. Tell us about how you got involved and kind of why you've gotten involved in this community.
Right. So even though I've been involved in this community for quite some time, I wasn't the founder of this community. In fact, we were founded by an Australian who was in Malaysia for work, right? He was an expatriate here. So he kind of brought over this Agile thing when he first came over and, kind of got it off the ground and basically gave it a home, right? So Andy, if you're seeing this, thank you for being a founder of Agile Malaysia. So he's from Melbourne, I think. He's from Australia. And, when he came over, he was the CIO. So he provided a home for it. He created a group and he created a space where people like myself who were on our journey very early on, that we could actually find each other, right? And then when Andy left, basically the few of us that was very active in the community, we decided to kind of take on what he had started and then build on top of that.
Excellent. So it sounds like a pretty thriving community. So tell us a little bit, Z, about kind of what some of the things that you guys do in your community.
Right. So when we first started, it was pretty relaxed, right? In the early days, I remember there was something like 10, 15 of us that would get together and we order pizzas and we, sometimes we meet up for conversation. Then we tried this thing called a lean coffee. I say, oh my God, this is great. We would have speakers once in a while. So, when people are traveling in and out of Malaysia from, say, Melbourne, Australia, or wherever in the world that had something to share, we would create this platform for them to share. But over time, as the community grew, we organizers, we were also trying to make it valuable for ourselves, right? Like after a while, having a presentation format is only so interesting, right? So we started experimenting, hey, lean coffee is kind of fun. How do we run little workshops, play with these Legos? We tried open spaces. So part of me being an organizer is, creating the community for a few different reasons. One is to provide a place where people can share experience. It's to provide a platform where local voices can find an audience, right? Like, hey, this is how I learned how to be a Scrum Master in an Asian context. This would be a space where we have visitors coming to Malaysia. Hey, this is a platform for them to share world-class expertise. And for me as an organizer, it's also a platform for me to just experiment, right? Try different facilitation formats, try different workshop formats, try different community formats. And really that's, as much as for my learning as it is something to just keep engaging the community with.
Excellent, Z. So it sounds like you've done some experimenting yourself. So, and one of the things I like about these community spotlights is we have other community facilitators all over the world, joining us. So Z, what if you could give maybe a couple tips to some of those other community facilitators out there? What would you share with them?
All right. I think a tip for me is connect with other organizers. Right. So even being an organizer for a while now is one thing I find is that there is the community Agile Malaysia of community of Agilists, but we also have a community of organizers, right? And we meet each other at conferences, we've arranged retreats, and really what I've learned is I've learned from other people, and what I've experimented with, I share back with the community. So as a community organizer, the most important thing for me, the most important thing for me to develop myself as an organizer is to connect with other organizers.
That seems like a good tip. Those connections always help, don't they, Z?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about before we got started, but we're living in interesting times here, Z, in the pandemic. What types of, things have you tried or maybe learned or adapted to use for your community during the pandemic?
Um, so one of the experiments that I started running, and then other organizers in the region started running, right, was, we had to go online, right? So we did not have a choice to run in-person physical workshop meetups. And I don't foresee that we'll be running a physical meetup at all this calendar year.
Yeah.
Right. Either we can't run it because of regulation or people are just not comfortable with it. It's very hard to convince a space to just lend us your space in this current climate to run it. So, but we started experimenting around the virtual meetups, right? So hosted over Zoom, and that would initially attract quite a number of people. But of course, after a while, everybody gets tired of Zoom, right? So the other thing we try experimenting with, and this is the one that kind of has been working, is because the meetups are no longer physical, we organizers in the region cross-organize and co-organize events. So myself and say Agile Singapore, Agile Vietnam would just co-organize a single event.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, because all of a sudden there's no physical boundary anymore. Anyone can join Zoom.
Yeah.
So we started playing around with co-organized events starting in around October, May timeframe. And how it came to be was some of us organizers were either really busy, or as one of my friends, he says, let's be a lazy organizer. Let's help each other out. If one person organizes an event, let's just publish it and market it across all the other events.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the same effort. And we just started doing that month after month after month. Right? So
Awesome.
Now we're having people from Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Australia, all coming to our events.
Wow.
Right? Or just normal meetup events. And last August, what we did was we ran a small mini Southeast Asian conference over 2 evenings.
Awesome.
Right, and that attracted about 200 people on both nights. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. That is awesome, Z. I really appreciate that. That's some good stuff you're sharing. So thank you so much. So any closing thoughts, Z?
Yeah, I think when, at the start of this year, a lot of disruptions occurred, to really disrupt how we organize events. But I think one of the things that being an Agilist is like, we know what we have under control, we know what's not, and we just have to adapt to the circumstances. And because of the environment that we're in right now, is we're learning so much more about, how to overcome the constraints that, we have. And we're finding that there's actually a lot of opportunity in the current climate that we're in, that we can actually help each other out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of not just being an Agilist, but being an Agilist in the community, supporting the community, and finding out just different creative ways of overcoming the boundaries and the constraints that we have. So I feel that this year, regardless of what happened, the community is still growing, it's getting stronger, and dare I say, being more connected to each other. So that's one of the silver linings for this year for me.
Wow, that's really great, Z. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yep. On behalf of Z Chin, I am Tom Hendrickson for the Agile Online Summit.